Hi everyone, I'm Emily Morris. I'm one of the two co-presidents of STATCOM here in the Biostats department. So I will be talking to you a little bit about the student organization and the kind of work that we do. So first, what is STATCOM? This actually stands for Statistics in the Community, and it's a student organization that's mostly housed in the Biostats department, though we also have volunteers from the Stats department and other departments in the School of Public Health. But we are essentially a volunteer statistical consulting group. We provide pro bono statistical consulting services to local nonprofits, small governmental agencies, other organizations you can imagine can't necessarily afford a statistical consultant, but may have interest in some projects. So we, as the students of Biostats and Stats, kind of provide some of these services in a way that we get good hands-on experience with data, and then we're also benefiting the community here in Ann Arbor. So we're entirely directed by graduate students, and all of the volunteers are grad students as well. So it's a great opportunity if you were to come here to kind of participate in a totally student-led organization. So what kind of services does STATCOM provide? There's a broad range of different statistical needs of the nonprofits in the community. So you can imagine there's quite a range of things that we might do. So some of the things are simple summary of different data that the organizations have collected. There's some interesting graphical summaries that they might want, that they've observed some sort of pattern, but they want a solid data-based story to tell to maybe the board or some other stakeholders in the organization. So it's a good experience if you're interested in doing some interesting data visualizations. There are also different projects that look at surveys. Sometimes we start from the design phase, sometimes they've already performed a survey and we do the analysis. And then there's the more traditional statistical projects of looking at modeling of some sort. So we may do some time series analysis, some spatial, other things like that, and I'll show in a little bit some examples of our projects. So the teams typically are 3 to 5 students, and then we also have one faculty advisor that is mostly in the background but there for support in case it's needed. And the commitment is usually pretty low. We know your students first, but we want to provide this as supplementary to your education here at Michigan. So the first project I'm going to go into was with an organization called Food for Thought Toledo. And this is actually a group that provides a mobile food pantry to people in the greater Toledo region. So they came to us saying, you know, we've been serving this community for about 20 years, but we don't really know how to optimize the location of this mobile food pantry. So what are some ways that we might look at this through the data, through surveys we've been collecting on the people who are currently coming into the mobile food pantries, to actually find locations that shorten the distance they have to travel or can serve a broader audience than we're reaching currently. So you can imagine there's a lot of interesting questions statistically that come up with this, as well as kind of being rewarding that we're ultimately hoping to serve more people who are food insecure. So the plot I have shown here is just kind of showing a map of different locations that we, through this analysis, kind of suggested that they place the mobile food pantry. They worked with us to come up with different parameters that were sort of creating this optimal definition of the optimal location. And this project also was especially interesting because we have some students who used it to submit and present at some conferences and won some neat awards. So there's also that benefit of a STATCOM project. Potentially you can use this to go present at conferences and get some other experience than you might traditionally get in the statistical consulting world. So another project was with the Ozone House, which is here in Ann Arbor. And this is a organization that provides a crisis hotline for, I believe, teens, mostly teens that are at risk for suicide and other things like that. And so this is a very interesting organization, but they came to us with a specific question of how can we make sure that we always staff the hotline with volunteers so that we have enough people to always answer those calls when they come in. You can imagine that it's very sensitive and they want to make sure that they always have enough, but they also don't want to overextend all their volunteers. So we were asked to kind of look at the data they had collected over many, many years and see if we could actually predict when they're going to have a high call volume so they can have more volunteers come in at those times. So the plot here just shows the general trend that they saw over time, and they actually created did a prediction modeling and created an RShiny app to help them in the future to kind of predict the high call volume. And another project is with the organization called the Children's Center of Detroit, and this organization provides different types of counseling services, educational services, a lot of different things that you can imagine, foster care services to people in the Detroit area. And so one of their main things that they have is many different clinicians that provide different counseling services. So this project was specifically with 2 of those teams, and they had observed among their clinicians that when their caseload was very high, they felt that the productivity of the clinicians went down, and they wanted to see at what point is that caseload kind of reaching maximum. So they wanted to find that balance of utilizing the clinicians to the full extent but not losing productivity. So in this plot here, we actually are looking at caseload versus expected pay, which is sort of a proxy for productivity. And in this case, we found that around the caseload of 70 clients for each clinician kind of is the turning point when that productivity starts to go down. So they actually took this analysis, took the results, and can then implement that in their practice and not overwork the clinicians and kind of find that good balance. And they've actually come back and done some follow-up projects with us. So it's, again, a great way to be involved with the community and feel like you have more connections or making an impact in the community here. So beyond these traditional STATCOM projects that we do about 10 to 12 of per year, we do some other opportunities that you may be interested in being involved in. So we provide workshops to different, mostly students on campus. So one of the things we've done is work with CTAC, which is kind of a similar organization to ours, but in the School of Social Work, where they provide evaluation tools to local nonprofits that might need it. And so we provide R and Python workshops to them to kind of give them more skills to do some of the more standard statistical analysis that they may not necessarily need to get our help for. And then they also kind of pass off projects to us that they don't have the expertise to handle. So it's a nice partnership, a way to get involved with other students on campus as well. And then we've done things like the conferences, as I mentioned. We've been invited to speak at a couple conferences like JSM, SDSS. So it's just kind of a very enriching experience to supplement your education here. Just a few quick pictures that we do have fun too. So we host the Michigan Data for Public Good Symposium here at Michigan for the past 3 years. And this is really just a great day where we bring together people from all over the campus that are doing data for good work, kind of hear about what's going on across the university with different groups, and kind of talk about ideas and ways we can improve this area of data analysis. So that's a great program. This was our first year, and you can see it's very collaborative, and it's a fun day. Okay, so another thing we did was go to the Bloomberg Data for Good Exchange in New York City. That's kind of another symposium conference, a day that is intended to bring people together to look at ways we can do data for good better, brainstorm other opportunities, and learn about what other people are doing in this the world of data for good. So finally, how can you join? If you would like to sign up, we'll have many opportunities in the fall. You'll get many emails through the Biostats listservs to learn more about us and find our contact information. We also have an introductory meeting in the fall that everyone is welcome to join and learn a little bit more about STATCOM. And then in terms of actually doing a project with us, so everything is sent out through our listserv. If you're interested, just get on the listserv and we'll send out all the call for volunteers on a rolling basis as projects come in. We do try to have them start in the fall, at the beginning of the fall semester and the winter semester. So if you're interested but maybe nervous to jump right in the fall, we'll have more opportunities in the winter and summer. So please join our listserv and you'll get more information if you're at all interested in what we're doing. So if you'd like to contact us, I have both the group email for the leadership team listed here, as well as my personal email. So feel free to email either one of those. I'm sure I'm happy to answer your questions as well as everyone else on our leadership team. The other leadership team members are Steve Salerno. He's the other co-president with myself. Other exec members are Emily Roberts, Amy Singer, and Edmund Wooldridge. And then our 2 faculty advisors are Kathy Spino and Tom Brown. They also, I'm sure, can answer questions, and if you do have a chance to join us in a STATCOM project, they would it'd be great to get a chance to work with them as well.